We're talking today with Ellen Kullman, Chairman and CEO of the DuPont Company. Welcome, Ellen.
Pleasure to be here, John.
When you and I were growing up in Delaware, the DuPont Company was the largest private employer by far. It was also the dominant social, cultural, political, and philanthropic force here. Employees were encouraged to run for office, get involved in schools, volunteer. And a lot of that's changed in the last 10, 15 years.
You know, it's quiet. I mean, we still have employees on city council or employees that really go out into schools and do tremendous work, non-for-profits across a wide range of things. It's important to us. It's important to me. I mean, I grew up in this community. I want to see the community succeed. But what has changed is that we're now a citizen of the world as well as a citizen of Wilmington, Delaware. And so it does get more, fragmented or broader from that standpoint, because we need to be doing these same kind of community actions, whether we're operating in Copenhagen, Denmark, our new acquisition, or whether in Wilmington, Delaware. So it's a lot broader today.
You were the first woman to lead a business at the vice presidential level at DuPont, and later clearly became the first woman to run the whole company. In a Business Week article about a year ago, you said that you took on a new job back in 1998 that challenged the cultural success model at DuPont. And it could have sidetracked your career.
It could have.
Obviously, it didn't.
Yeah, it seems to have worked out.
You said you went with your gut as well as your engineer's head in that article. Is your view of the corporation different than that of the men that you succeeded?
Oh, I don't know about that. It's interesting because it was Chad Holliday, previous chairman and CEO, who asked me to take that risk. He said, if we're going to start a business in safety, he said, you're the one to do it. And I asked him why, because I didn't grow up in DuPont. I'd come from the outside. I spent 10 years with 2 other companies. And he said, because you came into this company without it and you get it. You understand safety. And so help me create a new business there. So I think I felt like I had the backing of the leadership. I had a lot of interest in the area. I had seen the power of what having a product like Kevlar or Nomex can do. I could see the loyalty and the pride of the people who worked in those organizations. I mean, they were proud to come to work every day to make Kevlar because they think and know they make a difference to our armed forces, to first responders, in a lot of different areas. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to try.
Today, DuPont calls itself a science company. And your slogan, the miracles of science, it's distinctly different than the company who made better things for better living through chemistry, isn't it? Talk about that transition and what you think it means.
I think first and foremost, chemistry is a very important part of this company and will always be. Chemistry is how you can create great things in this world. But we've had to marry it with other sciences to really continue to extend and help solve our customers' problems. So we had to add biology. We had to add nanotechnology. We had to add different kinds of material sciences in a way that allows us to integrate across those sciences. We can come up with some pretty great things. And so anymore, if we're out recruiting agronomists to increase the yield in corn or soy, or we're recruiting biotechnologists to really help us create a carpet from a corn feedstock, then we needed to be broader than just chemistry, and we really needed to welcome all these sciences in and use them in a way to really help solve some of the tough problems there are in the world.
Yeah, I think it probably has always described the company. From my view, my dad worked at the Chambers Works, so I've been watching this company all my life as well. In that same Business Week article, you talked about how DuPont wouldn't survive if all you ask is, do I have a better polymer than the next guy? You said, that's what it is, but what could it be? That has a Steve Jobsian ring to it, that, what's the future, not what's the past. Is that how you think you're shaping the company?
I think that we always have to think beyond our comfort zone, right? So we know that we can make our product incrementally better, our manufacturing process incrementally more cost-effective or efficient. But it's a competitive world, and there are companies out there that understand what we have and are trying to really replace us. So we need to replace ourselves. We need to make sure that we keep advancing the technology, advancing the science, working with our customers, collaborating with them. We call it inclusive innovation. So we know that we don't have the corner on it. We just can't invent it in our labs and then say, gee, is this worth something? We have to be working with the customers. And so that really does change the questions you ask. It really changes it to what can be versus what is and can we improve upon.
I know you've been very supportive of education that emphasizes STEM, the science, technology, engineering, math. As an engineer yourself, what kind of advice do you have for young women and men about pursuing careers in this whole area?
If you pursue a career in math, science, engineering especially, I happen to be very fond of engineering, being one, you open up a lot of possibilities. You open up the possibilities to do work in many different areas. You work in science and really solving some of the tough problems of the day, creating more efficient solar cells so solar gets to grid parity and we have more options in energy. Creating a much lighter weight Kevlar so that our armed forces or first responders are protected without having the weight or the heat of the old Kevlar when it was first invented. So you could have a science career. You could have a career in law. You could be a patent attorney and help us patent and protect our technology, help us license it to other companies, help us work with our customers in a way that creates value for both of us. Or you could be a business leader. You could go back and study marketing and finance, as I did, and really connect the science and the business side to think about those new business models or the next new business that we want to create. So an engineering or science degree opens up a lot of possibilities for what you can do in the world. But at the bottom of it, it's always you're helping solve problems. You're helping create a better world than what exists today.
So many of the products for which DuPont is known all over the world came from basic research. What portion of DuPont's spending goes to science research now, and is that the right number, do you think?
Well, it's never enough, right? I mean, if you ask our scientists, they'll tell you it's never enough. So we spend about $2 billion on research and development. We still do basic research at the experimental station. We do basic research in Des Moines, Iowa in the agriculture area. And then we do applied research in all of our businesses, and we do it here in the United States and in Brazil and in India and Europe and China. We do applied research all over the world. And we tend to think about science, once you get into the application of it, in discrete projects. So does this project, is it going to improve that business? Is it going to create an opportunity with that customer? Is it going to be able to create a more competitive business for us? And then we tend to invest from that standpoint on a project-by-project basis. But we will still do basic research. It creates that spark, right, and that creativity that allows us to think very differently. Allowed us to get into biotechnology when we defined ourselves as a chemical company 25 years ago. Yeah. So we think that's still an important part of our equation.
I remember a time when Ed Jefferson took me and a few other of the editors out to the new Greenewalt building when it was first opened, and it blew me away with the stuff that people were working on. I keep saying, probably still believe that if they cure cancer, they're going to find that cure there someplace. Your job requires a lot of overseas travel. How do the folks that you interact with regard the U.S. today? Are reactions in Asia different than they are in Europe? And what do you have to say to America as a sort of an ambassador from other places?
It's interesting because we are a global company, and we have to connect our businesses globally, but we have to act very locally. And so we have very strong manufacturing presence in the United States, and that will remain here. And we're actually building upon that. We opened a new Kevlar plant outside of Charleston, South Carolina, a new Tedlar film plant for the photovoltaic industry in Ohio just this past year. And so we're a big exporter from the United States. And we create a lot of our science in the United States. But when we get into China, they want that connectedness. They want to know that the research laboratories, our customers there, want to know that the research laboratories in China can talk to the researchers in the U.S. to get the best solution, because the solutions tend to be global, but then applied locally. So we do have to be a citizen of the world, but we never forget where our roots are.
Do the people have respect for the U.S. these days? I mean, you see in political circles that there seems to be a lot of tumbling around, but on the business level, American business people welcome in Europe and Asia?
We are. I do think that there's a lot of respect for what the United States has built, from whether it's the automotive industry or the electronics industry, and the kind of innovation and the kind of technology and science that's been developed in this country. Many people from around the world still come to the United States to get educated, to get not only their undergraduate degrees, but their PhDs. And so we still have a tremendous brand from a science standpoint in the United States, but we have to continue to invest in it to maintain it, because other countries are catching up fast.
Yeah, and those guys don't stay here anymore either. They go home, many of them.
Well, the visas need to be,
Yeah.
System needs to be upgraded in order to change that.
You're a busy person.
I am.
What do you
Mark
do for
must be
fun?
too. What do I do for fun? Well, I go to my kids' lacrosse games. I go out and play golf with my family. Occasionally we get to go skiing. Visit with friends, just like everyone else does. Family's important, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.